Tsukasa, just your average low-life salaryman, clocking in and out, living that bland 9 to 5, but somehow he's got demons lining up like it's Black Friday, until he meets a konoichi named Shizuri. She pulls a full 180 from Shadow Assassin to full-time NEET. She crashes at his place, trades stealth missions for side quests and snacks, and slowly starts catching feels for this plain dude who just wanted peace. Let's begin. The story kicks off with Tsukasa Atsume, a regular office worker with zero chances of climbing the corporate ladder. He's just walking down the street, minding his own business, when a sudden loud noise makes him look up. That's when he sees it, steel beams tumbling straight toward him from a construction site. His brain processes one thing: this is how it ends. Crushed by steel, just like in a safety video no one ever watches. But life has other plans. A konoichi named Shizuri Idura swoops in out of nowhere, slicing through the beams like it's just another Tuesday. She points out how close he was to becoming a pancake and expects some gratitude. Tsukasa, however, is too stunned to focus on that. His mind latches onto something way more confusing: her outfit. How is she moving around so easily in that? Shouldn't she be cold? Before he can say anything, Shizuri asks if he's injured. He assures her he's fine and thanks her for the last-minute rescue. But she's not done. The real problem, according to her, wasn't the fallen beams. It was something worse, Yoma. She throws him a serious look and asks if he frequently falls sick or ends up in strange accidents. He admits that, yeah, this kind of bad luck has followed him since he was a kid. That's when she drops the bombshell: he's been haunted by Yoma, ghosts from another world. And as someone with a warrior bloodline, he's basically been a walking target since birth. Luckily for him, Shizuri has dedicated her life to stopping these creatures. She calls herself the Blade of Justice, a ninja protecting people like him from the shadows. Tsukasa stares at Shizuri, completely unconvinced. A cosplayer talking about ghosts and warrior bloodlines. But before he can brush her off, she tells him to look behind him. Big mistake. He turns his head and comes face to face with a monstrous creature straight out of a nightmare. That's all the proof he needs. Everything she said is 100% legit. No more doubts. Shizuri calmly explains that his so-called warrior bloodline is starting to awaken, which means these creatures won't be messing around anymore. They'll come after him harder, and his life is now officially on nightmare mode. Then she drops a proposal. She'll protect him, but she wants something in return. Tsukasa immediately smells a scam. There's no way this is just an act of kindness. Still, considering his other option is getting eaten by monsters, he accepts the deal. Shizuri does not waste a second. She declares the contract sealed and starts listing demands. She asks if he is good at housekeeping, how much money he has saved, whether he comes home late, and if he owns a gaming console. Tsukasa realizes too late that he is terrible at negotiations and hopes she will not completely take advantage of him. But the look on her face says otherwise. He is doomed. With no better plan, he takes her to his apartment. She actually seems impressed. The moment they step inside, she wastes no time changing into casual clothes. She reassures him that she will do her best to keep him safe, but casually adds that he will need to provide for her. He agrees, not realizing what he just signed up for. Her face lights up, and she immediately asks to play games. He nods, and just like that, she is completely in her element. While mashing buttons, she finally introduces herself properly. Shizuri Idura, konoichi, and full-time shut-in gamer. A week passes since Shizuri moves in with Tsukasa. Her daily routine consists of gaming, eating, and lounging around, which she considers the perfect lifestyle. While completely satisfied with her new living arrangement, she reassures Tsukasa that she will eliminate the Yoma and show her appreciation for him every single day. She then turns to him and asks if he is upset. Instead of complaining, he surprises her by admitting that he might actually be happy. He explains that he has always struggled with socializing, both in school and at work, and assumes she would be the one to find it difficult living with him. But Shizuri brushes off his concerns without hesitation. In her eyes, he is a god among men. After an almost flirtatious exchange, Shizuri heads off to take a bath, and as she walks away, she mutters to herself that it was close. She hopes Tsukasa did not notice the faint blush on her face. It seems like the fearsome konoichi is absolutely hopeless when it comes to romance. That does not stop her from doing her job. She takes down a massive Yoma, saving Tsukasa once again. While reflecting on him, she finds something unusual. Unlike any master she has served before, Tsukasa does not treat her like a servant. He does not complain about her NEET lifestyle. He does not seem to care that she is either fighting Yoma or glued to a screen. That alone is enough to make her feel conflicted. Shizuri challenges Tsukasa to a fighting game, convinced she can crush him. That confidence shatters in seconds. He defeats her on the first try, barely even trying. Then he casually mentions that he once won a gaming tournament. Every match after that ends in disaster for her. No matter what she does, he keeps winning. Left with no choice, she admits he is too good. Tsukasa shrugs, saying spending time with someone else is not so bad. Shizuri refuses to let it end there. She demands one more round. Tsukasa shuts her down immediately. He has laundry to do. Desperate to turn things around, she offers to do it tomorrow. Being a konoichi has its perks. One of them is knowing exactly when her master is in danger. The moment a Yoma attacks Tsukasa, she senses it and moves without hesitation. She arrives just in time to intercept the creature, and as she slashes through it, she tosses Tsukasa a game and tells him to clear it within 10 minutes. No context, no instructions, just pure chaos. Not long after, Tsukasa packs his bags for a week-long business trip, leaving Shizuri alone. Before he leaves, she hands him a protection charm, explaining that it will hide his warrior blood and keep the Yoma off his trail. She also makes one thing clear: this is not some loophole to escape take their contract. Crafting the charm was no joke. Tsukasa reassures her that he is not looking for an easy way out. Then, before stepping out the door, he hands her an envelope full of money so she can survive while he is gone. Shizuri scrolls through her phone and stumbles upon a rare, limited edition Mimu figure that is no longer in production. Without hesitation, she spends every last yen Tsukasa gave her for the week to buy it. The consequences hit immediately. She spends the next few days surviving on bean sprouts. When Tsukasa returns from his trip completely unaware of her suffering, he surprises her with the exact same Mimu figure. Later, Tsukasa forgets his lunch at home. Shizuri, taking her duties seriously, decides to bring it to him. Using her shukuchi technique, she appears on the roof of his workplace like it is the most normal thing in the world. After handing over the food, she casually mentions that the game she wanted is now available. Tsukasa, without thinking much of it, asks if she wants to go pick it up. That is all it takes. Shizuri immediately declares him the greatest of all time. But there is a problem. Someone took a photo of her standing on the roof and posted it online. The internet does what it does best. The image spreads, and soon she is tracked down by Ayam, a fellow ninja, and an obsessed fan. When Ayam finally finds her, she is met with a horrifying sight. Shizuri, after pulling her second all-nighter, completely wrecked from playing the new game Tsukasa bought her. Tsukasa notices someone lurking on the balcony and points her out. Shizuri looks over, only to be just as startled. Ayam, disappointed beyond belief, questions what happened to the once great Shizuri and wonders what the people from their village would think if they saw her like this. Then her attention shifts to Tsukasa. She immediately decides that this is his fault. He must be deceiving Shizuri. Before Ayam can do anything, a blade stops just short of her neck. Shizuri, eyes sharp, calmly explains that she simply returned the malicious intent thrown at her, with a little extra added for good measure. She makes one thing clear: anyone who dares to ruin her lifestyle will face consequences. Instead of fear, Ayam is thrilled. Seeing Shizuri's bloodlust up close is the best thing that has ever happened to her. Realizing she's enjoying this a little too much, Shizuri tosses Ayam straight out the window. Then, turning to Tsukasa, she tries to assure him that not all her fellow ninjas are weirdos. Tsukasa, watching everything unfold, keeps his thoughts to himself. Shizuri is just as weird as Ayam, maybe even weirder. A power outage suddenly hits Tsukasa's house. Moments later, Hina Izumi, a low-level ninja from Shizuri's village, appears looking both apologetic and embarrassed. She explains that the blackout is her fault and asks for Shizuri's help. Before Shizuri can respond, the universe decides to prove a point. A potted plant crashes onto Hina's head, immediately followed by a larger kitchen utensil. And as if that were not enough, Tsukasa glances at his phone, only to find the screen mysteriously cracked. Shizuri sighs and states the obvious: Hina's bad luck is contagious. With a defeated look, Hina confesses the real reason she is here. She has broken a taboo of the ninja village by accidentally falling in love with her own master. Tears well up as she insists that someone is unlucky, as her does not deserve to stay by his side. She tried to suppress her feelings, afraid they would only bring him trouble. Shizuri, however, refuses to let her spiral any further. She assures Hina that love is not some curse, and her feelings are not something to be ashamed of. Hina, feeling encouraged for the first time in a while, makes a bold request. She wants to become her disciple. There is no time to celebrate, though, because Yoma demons decide to crash the moment. Hina steps up to fight, but quickly realizes she is out of her depth. Her beginner-level ninjutsu barely phases the demons, and her physical attacks are even worse. Meanwhile, Shizuri handles the minions with ease, cutting through them like they are nothing. Hina's violation of the village's rules has consequences. The elders demand that she either cancel her master-servant contract or leave the village entirely. Without their support, she stands no chance against high-level demons. But without her master, she refuses to walk away. Back in battle, the situation goes from bad to worse. Hina struggles against a mid-level demon, completely overwhelmed. Shizuri watches and quickly pinpoints the problem. Hina's physical techniques are a disaster, and only her beginner-level ninjutsu seems to work. Desperate to turn things around, Hina attempts an intermediate fireball spell. The attack goes wildly off course, nearly torching Shizuri in the process. Shizuri does not even flinch. She simply states the harsh truth: Hina's bad luck is so extreme that it physically prevents her from using anything beyond beginner-level ninjutsu. A demon charges straight at them, but Shizuri takes it down in an instant. After seeing the destruction left by Hina's fireball, she casually points out that Hina's power is way beyond mid-level ninja standards. But raw power isn't enough. Shizuri tells her she needs to start believing in herself if she wants to improve. Before she can say more, exhaustion kicks in and she starts to collapse. Luckily, Tsukasa catches her before she hits the ground. Hina, feeling guilty, immediately blames herself. If she hadn't caused trouble, Shizuri wouldn't be in this state. Before the guilt can settle in too deep, her master, Toru, shows up looking only mildly singed from that fireball earlier. He tells Hina not to push herself too hard and seems genuinely impressed by her efforts. Watching them, Tsukasa makes an offhand comment to Shizuri. Those two remind him of someone. Before they can dwell on that thought, the demon from earlier decides it's not done yet and lunges at Toru. Hina, running on sheer willpower, throws out one final beginner-level ninjutsu and completely obliterates the demon. The bad news: the explosion catches Shizuri too, leaving her slightly burned. Later, at Tsukasa's apartment, Shizuri, fully in gamer mode, has barricaded the door to stop any kunoichi from interfering with her gaming session. She's been at it for 3 days straight, and even as Tsukasa tells her to get some sleep, she refuses. A true Ecchi gamer but doesn't back down after getting interrupted twice. She has to clear this level no matter what. Tsukasa, seeing that reasoning won't work, gives up and gets ready to leave for work. But before he can even take a step, he turns around and finds Shizuri fast asleep, controller still in her hands. And just as he heads out, Ayame ambushes him out of nowhere. She's not here for small talk. She demands he cancel the contract with Shizuri and throws in a classic threat. Refuse and he can say goodbye to his limbs. Ayame's scuffle with Tsukasa accidentally tears the protection charm Shizuri gave him. Bad timing because Ayoma immediately takes advantage and attacks. Strangely, Ayame doesn't seem bothered. In fact, she looks thrilled. Turns out, she's a full-blown masochist who enjoys the pain. Unfortunately, while Ayame is busy enjoying the moment, Tsukasa is left completely vulnerable, and with Shizuri deep in sleep, there's no backup coming. Despite being injured, Ayame manages to launch a fireball at the demon, landing a solid hit. She can't believe such a weak-looking demon could be so tough. Without wasting any more time, Ayame finishes it off with a single strike. But before there's even a moment to celebrate, another demon appears, this one much stronger. The new demon doesn't hold back, delivering brutal punches, but Ayame just gets more excited. Even so, there's no denying that this one is on a different level. Pushed to the limit, Ayame unleashes an ultimate ninjutsu, completely wiping out the demon. The bright flash from the attack is so intense that it even wakes Shizuri from her sleep. When the dust settles, the real twist is revealed. Ayame isn't actually a kunoichi, but a psychopathic boy dressed as one. Tsukasa, still trying to process this, asks why he pretends to be female. Ayame casually explains that he can't accept having a woman's face with a man's body and despises the very idea of it. More importantly, he begs Tsukasa not to let Shizuri find out the truth. Right on cue, Shizuri arrives, immediately questioning Ayame's suspicious behavior. Thinking fast, Ayame avoids answering by throwing himself onto Tsukasa in a hug, instantly triggering Shizuri's rage. She demands Ayame take his hands off Tsukasa, but Ayame refuses. To keep the situation from escalating, Tsukasa quickly explains what happened. He recounts how the demon attacked, how his phone broke, and how Ayame showed up, saved him, and likely used up all his energy in the process, making it impossible to move. Taking advantage of the distraction, Ayame subtly readjusts the fake chest padding, keeping the disguise intact. With a polite apology to Shizuri, Ayame limps away, successfully keeping the secret safe. Shizuri drowns in guilt after failing to protect Tsukasa. She believes her only purpose is to guard him, justifying her freeloading lifestyle. Now that she has failed in her primary duty, she feels too ashamed to stay. But Tsukasa refuses to let his so-called wife leave. He confesses that living with Shizuri has healed him. Watching her enjoy the meals he cooks makes him happy. Spending his days off playing games with her feels fulfilling. Replacing her with another female ninja is not an option. Hearing this, Shizuri feels fully revitalized and decides to shamelessly stay. While Tsukasa takes out the trash, he notices new neighbors moving in. They are none other than Hina and Ayame. Tsukasa and Shizuri invite their new neighbors over for a meetup. Hina arrives with her master, Toru. Ayame also shows up. Hina explains that her master was transferred. Shizuri feels like the world is crashing down, but Hina reassures her. She rarely experiences misfortune when with her master because happiness seems to counteract her bad luck. Moved by this, Shizuri grabs Toru's hand and pleads with him to keep Hina happy. Ayame reveals that her mission designated this place as her new base. Shizuri confronts Ayame about what she wants with Tsukasa. Ayame snaps. The air around him thickens with murderous intent. He refuses to admit that he lingers around Shizuri just to be yelled at and beaten by her. Shizuri despises the idea of her colleagues moving in, but she thinks she has no authority to make them leave. She only warns them not to disrupt her peaceful life with Tsukasa. The words nearly send Ayame into shock. His idol, stolen away so effortlessly by Tsukasa, fills him with pure rage. Tsukasa falls ill with a cold. Shizuri sees it as her chance to repay his kindness. She rolls up her sleeves and attempts to cook, but the result is so bad that even she refuses to eat it. Awkwardly, she asks him if he wants ice cream instead. Realizing the cooking disaster, Tsukasa tells her where to find his wallet. Shizuri grabs it and heads out to buy a proper meal, only to run into a demon right outside. She defeats it instantly, but the wallet vanishes without a trace. Luckily, Hina and Toru come across her just in time. Hina teaches Shizuri how to make porridge, instantly becoming an angel in her eyes. Seeing herself as useless outside of combat, Shizuri is amazed by Hina's willingness to cook for Tsukasa. Hina quickly clarifies that there is nothing romantic between them. With the porridge ready, she rushes back but invites Shizuri to cook with her again sometime. When Tsukasa takes his first bite, he can't stop praising the porridge. Shizuri, too nervous to face his reaction, flees to calm herself with a card draw, only to realize the limited time event has already ended. Devastated, she vents her frustration in the game. Later, Tsukasa goes grocery shopping, unaware that the cashier, a high school girl from the same apartment building he lives in named Asakura, has been quietly observing him. She noticed that his gaze once looked empty, but lately he seems more alive. She assumes it must be because of that girl he lives with. At first, she assumed he must be living with his girlfriend, but after watching for a while, something feels off. Her love radar stays completely silent. No sparks, no romantic tension, nothing. She gets disappointed. She had been hoping for a dramatic love story to unfold right in front of her. Instead, all she gets is another dull day. Asakura recalls when Tsukasa first moved in with Shizuri. Asakura had high hopes for an exciting, mature romance right next door. She expected stolen glances, playful teasing, and the kind of cohabitation straight out of a drama. But reality was a letdown. Shizuri barely left the house, spending her days glued to video games while dumping all the household chores on Tsukasa. The only time she ventured outside was for emergency bean sprout runs. Sometimes guilt crept in and Shizuri would offer to shop with Tsukasa, but the effort never lasted. After her nights of gaming marathons, exhaustion always won and she would end up collapsing right into his arms. Tsukasa shows zero reaction and makes it painfully clear to Asakura that there was nothing romantic going on. Meanwhile, the new couple, Hina and Toru, had no problem flaunting their affection. Watching them was so sweet, it made Asakura feel full without breakfast. Tsukasa asked Shizuri why she never took off her ninja suit. The answer was pure laziness. If a demon attacks, she can toss the jacket, neutralize the threat, and be back in her game before the pause many times out. The suit isn't just fabric, it's formed from condensed ninja essence, able to regenerate into a fresh outfit whenever needed. Only the jacket demands human-level maintenance. To bridge the laundry gap, Tsukasa hands her a spare hoodie. She throws it on without thinking. Then it hits her. This isn't just any hoodie, it's the boyfriend hoodie. It smells like him. Her face heats up, her thoughts start to spiral, and just when things get dangerously introspective, she catches movement on the balcony. Someone's there. At that moment, Asakura walks in, fresh from work, and steps right into peak chaos. Shizuri hurls I am out the front door like he's trash on pickup day. As usual, she refuses to let him into her personal space. Today is no different. I am, ever the glutton for punishment, goes straight to his knees and starts crawling toward her, begs for her to berate him. She answers with a punch that sends him flying. The drama unfolds in full force, but Asakura isn't watching the madness. Her eyes are fixed on the hoodie. She bolts back to her apartment. Romance posters wallpaper every inch of her room. A walking rom-com encyclopedia. She's been convinced Shizuri had zero romantic instincts. But now the impossible is real. Shizuri wearing the boyfriend hoodie without hesitation or shame. Everything she thought she knew crumbles. Her judgment needs a reboot. Starting now, she doubles down on what she calls observation. Definitely not spying. Later, when Shizuri's suit finishes drying, Tsukasa hands it back. But the suit's already been retired. She's out of it, and now the hoodie is pressed directly against her naked skin. The idea of switching back to her old jumpsuit feels wrong. In fact, the idea of wearing Tsukasa's hoodie permanently crossed her mind more than once. Tsukasa's laptop had broken down, and he debated whether to buy a new one. Before he could decide, Shizuri called him over for a game. This time, something unbelievable happened. Shizuri won. For the first time ever, she beat Tsukasa, and she couldn't contain her excitement. She proudly showed off her victory and demanded another round. While they played, Tsukasa mentioned that he planned to buy a new computer, one that both of them could use for gaming. The problem was, he wasn't exactly an expert in picking one out, so he wanted Shizuri to come with him. The moment she agreed, realization hit. This was basically a date, and their destination was none other than Akihabara, the ultimate paradise for anime fans. Shizuri had a problem. Her usual sportswear was the only thing she owned, and with the shops already closed, there was no way to buy something new. She decided to ask Tsukasa to wait at the station the next morning while she quickly went to Hina for help. Unfortunately, Hina was out on a date, leaving Shizuri stranded without an option. But IAM from next door overheard the commotion and immediately invited her over. Learning that Shizuri needed to borrow clothes, IAM saw an opportunity he couldn't miss. With no alternatives and an overly enthusiastic IAM practically bouncing in excitement, Shizuri reluctantly gave in. Not only did IAM help her pick out an outfit, but he also did her makeup, taking full advantage of the situation. While working on her transformation, IAM couldn't resist prying into her relationship with Tsukasa. He bluntly asked if their bond had grown beyond that of master and servant. Shizuri tried to dodge the question by praising Tsukasa, saying that living with him felt incredibly peaceful. But IAM wasn't letting her off the hook so easily. He pointed out that she sounded more like Tsukasa's pet than his lover. The thought stuck with Shizuri longer than she liked. She actually considered it for a moment, but when IAM started stirring up even more chaos, she decided she had enough. She threatens him to use force to escape his antics. Satisfied with his mischief, IAM let her go, grinning all the while. Meanwhile, Tsukasa waited at the station, thinking about how little Shizuri seemed to care about appearances. She had even shown up to his company before in casual clothes, so the fact that she wanted to change today caught him off guard. Maybe he didn't understand her as well as he thought. Then she appeared. Shizuri had transformed, stunning, radiant, effortlessly turning heads as she walked. But inside, she couldn't stop thinking about what IAM had said. She was determined to understand feelings of Tsukasa. She wondered if her style suited her at all, questioning if Tsukasa would like her style. Fortunately, Tsukasa didn't let her doubt linger. Without hesitation, he complimented her beauty, catching her completely off guard. Flustered beyond belief, Shizuri muttered something incoherent before dashing off to the restroom to calm down. Clearly, Tsukasa's kindness had struck her harder than any battle ever could. Together, they stepped into Akihabara, the holy land for anime fans. The moment they left the station, they were surrounded by maid cafes, colorful shops, and everything an otaku could ever dream of. Shizuri, completely in her element, forgot all about her nerves. Excited, she darted from store to store, her original mission to buy a computer slipping from her mind entirely. Tsukasa, not wanting to ruin her fun, simply went along with it, even stopping to buy crepes with her. It wasn't until they were eating that Shizuri remembered why she had dressed up in the first place. She had wanted to understand Tsukasa's feelings, recalling his early earlier compliment, she felt the surge of joy once again. To calm herself, she went to buy ice cream alone. Just as she left, Tsukasa unexpectedly ran into an old high school friend and his girlfriend. His friend, ever the carefree type, immediately teased him about Shizuri, cracking jokes about their relationship. When Shizuri returned, she overheard the friend offhandedly calling her a pet. The comment hit her harder than she expected, her mood dipping slightly. But before she could dwell on it, Tsukasa cut in. With absolute certainty, he denied it, saying that Shizuri had healed him. He had never once felt like he was just taking care of her. To him, she was someone truly important. His words carried so much weight that even his friend, caught off guard, had no choice but to back down. He wished them happiness and quickly left with his girlfriend. Shizuri stood frozen. Her emotions surged all at once, warmth flooding her chest as her eyes brimmed with tears. The moment was so tender and precious, but then she looked down. Her ice cream had melted. By the time they finally bought the computer, the sky had darkened. Tsukasa remained completely unaware that Shizuri had overheard his words. To him, she was just acting a little strange today, blushing far too often. In truth, Shizuri was simply too flustered to look at him directly. Thinking about how Tsukasa always expressed his feelings so openly while she kept avoiding hers, she made a decision. This time, she would take the lead. She grabbed Tsukasa's hand, determination burning in her eyes. Just as she was about to confess, a tactless monster picked the worst possible moment to appear. Frustration exploded inside her. Without hesitation, she delivered a devastating punch, reducing the creature to nothing but a mess of blood and guts. Covered in the blood, her carefully prepared speech was ruined. The overwhelming emotions, the mischance, the sheer absurdity of it all, it was too much. Tears spilled down her cheeks as she cried breathlessly, completely defeated by the universe once again. Meanwhile, at the entrance of their apartment, Asakura lay in wait. She had overheard Tsukasa and Shizuri planning to go out early in the morning, and as a self-proclaimed expert in love, she felt it was her duty to confirm whether they were a real couple. After waiting all day without spotting them, she started to wonder. Maybe they had decided to stay out overnight. Just as her imagination ran wild, she finally saw them approaching. Shizuri was in Tsukasa's arms, tears streaming down her face. Asakura's curiosity skyrocketed. What had they been doing all day to end up like this? The next day, Asakura vented to her best friend, ranting about how Tsukasa and Shizuri obviously went on a date. Even though they lived in the same apartment, they had arranged to meet outside, which in Asakura's eyes was the ultimate romantic gesture. She had wanted to observe their entire date, but decided that would be just a little too creepy. Her friend, unimpressed, called her out, teasing her for being a love virgin with no right to judge adult relationships. The comment had a nerve, but it also made Asakura reflect. Maybe she had been too eager to project her own standards onto others. Love wasn't one size fits all. She recalled her neat freak sister, who once saw the possibility of love through something as simple as a boyfriend's hoodie. Inspired by the thought, Asakura found herself reinvigorated. Later, as she lingered near the entrance, she spotted Shizuri stepping out to pick up a parcel. Shizuri looked undeniably happy. Asakura's intrigue deepened. Clearly, something had changed. Asakura wondered if this was a sign of love, but when Shizuri opened the package, it turned out to be a high-end gaming computer they had bought a few days ago. So much for romance. Now Shizuri could dive into gaming without a single interruption. Just then, Ayame appeared. As ninjas, both of them immediately sensed that someone had been watching. But after a quick assessment, they dismissed it. The presence felt harmless. Ayame had another reason for showing up. He had come to remind Shizuri about the clothes she had borrowed. Shizuri, suddenly embarrassed, remembered that they were still stained with blood. She had planned to wash them before returning them, but Ayame immediately protested. To him, those clothes were a priceless relic. They had wrapped around Shizuri's beautiful body, absorbed her sweat, carried her scent. Washing them would be an unforgivable act. Shizuri, realizing Ayame was still the same shameless pervert, sent him flying with a single punch. Strangely, this only seemed to make him happier. With that distraction handled, the real priority was setting up the new computer. Asakura continued observing, feeling increasingly disappointed. Her sister seemed completely hopeless when it came to love. Shizuri was way too obsessed with gaming to even consider romance. With her dreams of witnessing a blossoming love story crushed, Asakura shifted her focus to more reliable sources of romance. Haina and her master, the couple who couldn't stop flaunting their affection even while shopping. Asakura being the cashier at the store, watching them look captivated. That was the kind of love Asakura aspired to. Unexpectedly, on her way back from work, Asakura ran into Tsukasa. Since he didn't have to work the next day, he was out buying snacks, preparing for a full day of gaming with Shizuri, who was beyond thrilled about the new computer, and apparently so was he. Seizing the opportunity, Asakura curiously asked Tsukasa how he managed both work and household chores. It seemed impossible to juggle everything alone. However, Tsukasa saw no issue with this arrangement. For him, it was simple. Shizuri always protected him diligently, a role only she could fulfill. Compared to that, doing housework was nothing. He didn't feel the need to discuss this with outsiders. Besides, Shizuri always made sure to thank him sincerely. That simple gesture alone brought him immense happiness. As soon as Tsukasa reached the door, Shizuri couldn't wait to open it and welcome him inside. Seeing them happily chatting, Asakura had an epiphany. Maybe, just maybe, true love wasn't just about dramatic romance or extravagant gestures. Perhaps having an understanding boyfriend who took care of everything while she played games all day without worrying about work or chores was his own kind of perfect love. It did sound quite appealing. It is revealed that once a ninja become a member of the ninja village, village, there was one unshakable rule: betraying the ninja village was never an option. Anyone who did would inevitably be hunted down, and today it seemed like trouble had finally caught up to her. On her way to pick up her master from work, Hina encountered a demon. Fortunately, thanks to her training, taking it down was as easy as swatting a fly. However, just as she was chatting affectionately with her master, their moment was rudely interrupted. A blonde, twin-tailed girl suddenly appeared, her presence radiating hostility. This was Kana, the leader of another ninja village and Shizuri's longtime enemy. With a menacing glare, Kana turned to Hina, the supposed traitor, and demanded to be taken to Shizuri immediately. Hina had no choice but to comply. Moments later, Kana stormed into Shizuri's house. She immediately throws down a battle challenge at Shizuri without hesitation. Unfortunately for her, Shizuri was far too busy playing video games to care. Without even looking away from the screen, she lazily reminded Kana of one simple fact: Kana had never beaten her before. This instantly stirred up all of Kana's unpleasant memories from the past. Frustrated and emotional, she lashed out at Hina for abandoning the ninja village without a word. Her scolding grew harsher. Seeing Hina increasingly downhearted, Shizuri began to panic. Shizuri knew all too well what happened when Hina's emotions spiraled out of control. Her bad luck would inevitably strike. Fearing disaster, Shizuri tried to activate a mirror barrier as a precaution, but it was too late. Before she could activate it, Hina's negative emotions had already reached their limit. In an instant, chaos erupted. The entire house was obliterated in a catastrophic explosion, sending Kana flying out the window. She crashed to the ground right next to Tsukasa, who had just been minding his own business downstairs. Without hesitation, Tsukasa carried Kana back upstairs, only to find something strange. Despite the massive destruction moments ago, the room was now completely intact, as if nothing had ever happened. Ayam came rushing over after hearing the commotion. Something was off. The mirror barrier had not been cast by any of the ninjas present. So who did it? Tsukasa, confused by the whole situation, couldn't help but ask what a mirror barrier even was. The explanation left him stunned. A mirror barrier was a special battlefield used by ninjas when fighting demons. Once activated, it created an isolated dimension where only the caster and the target existed. No matter what destruction occurred inside, the real world remained unaffected. This revelation sent chills down his spine. No one wanted to deal with Kana's tantrum anymore. There was only one question on their minds: who had the power to cast a mirror barrier that could cover an entire apartment building? It must have been a very powerful ninja. Before anyone could speculate, the doorbell suddenly rang. Heavy silence filled the room. Tsukasa heard the landlord's voice outside. He moved to open the door to let her in, but instead of a greeting, the landlord vanished in an instant, reappearing right behind Shizuri with a blade pressed to her throat. It turned out the landlord was no ordinary person. She was also a ninja. Not just any ninja, but Shizuri's former mentor, the legendary ex-captain of the ninja village's secret force. Saya had defected from the village long before Shizuri did. After leaving, she became obsessed with making money, expanding into various industries until she eventually became a billionaire. But instead of completely severing ties with the ninja world, she had gathered ronin, masterless samurai, within this very apartment complex. Back when demons first appeared, samurai families who had inherited secret techniques from their ancestors joined forces with ninjas to fight them. However, those who had only inherited the bloodline but abandoned their clans were considered ronin. Tsukasa happened to be one of them. Gathering them here was Saya's way of returning a favor. Since Shizuri and the others had destroyed the massive mirror barrier she had set up, they now owed her compensation. Saya didn't hesitate to name her price. Repairing the barrier would cost at least 1 million yen, and that hefty sum, well, Shizuri and the others would have to pay for it. The next day, Saya took the 4 ninjas to one of the many businesses she owned, a ninja maid cafe. This wasn't an ordinary themed cafe. The maids here used real ninjutsu, and every single one of them was a former ninja who had left the village, and now Shizuri and her group had to work there until they paid off their debt. The cafe's reputation skyrocketed the moment the new batch of ninja maids arrived. Customers swarmed the place, eager to be served by these fresh recruits. Unfortunately, the novice maids had absolutely no training. Naturally, chaos ensued. Hana, the clumsy maid, was up first. A customer ordered a ninja burger, and eager to impress, she attempted to apply ninjutsu to the meal like the senior maids. The result? She accidentally blasted the poor customer's hair clean off. Surprisingly, instead of getting angry, the man was thrilled. He excitedly praised Hina for her unique performance. Apparently, nearly being set on fire by an adorable, fumbling ninja maid was peak entertainment. Next was Ayam. Unlike Hina, she had no interest in serving customers. Her only concern was Lady Shizuri, and she made that painfully obvious. Instead of taking orders, she kept hovering around Shizuri like a loyal guard dog, ignoring every single customer who tried to call her over. However, customers found Ayam's intense, almost threatening demeanor oddly charming. His surly face and sharp glares gave him a unique appeal, and a certain group of customers seemed to enjoy the challenge of trying to win over the grumpy ninja maid. Then there was Kana. As expected of someone with a classic tsundere personality, she had no interest in humoring a chubby fan's long-winded speeches. Just as she was about to snap and shut him down, the fan casually complimented her. Out of all the new maids today, Kana-chan is definitely the cutest. That single sentence shattered her defenses. Her face turned red, her tsundere nature kicked in, and before she knew it, she was begrudgingly serving him while muttering about how it's not like she cared or anything. Among them, the only one truly struggling was Shizuri. Having been a homebody for so long, she had absolutely no idea how to interact with strangers. The mere thought of acting cute in front of an audience made her nauseous. But the debt wasn't going to pay itself. If she ever wanted to return to her peaceful indoor lifestyle, she had to push through. Determined, she took a deep breath, hyped herself up, and walked back into the main hall, only to freeze in horror. Tsukasa and Toru had arrived. Shizuri, forced to serve their table, had no choice but to greet them with a sweet smile and call them master. Tsukasa, completely unprepared for this, was left speechless. He had only come because Saya called him to help, but instead, he found himself in this surreal situation. Meanwhile, Shizuri was spiraling. She already harbored secret feelings for Tsukasa, and now she could act like a cheerful, obedient maid right in front of him. Her brain short-circuited. No matter what she said, Tsukasa played along, making things even worse for her. But just as she was about to combust from embarrassment, an unexpected disaster struck. Hina, having spotted her master, was startled and accidentally threw the alcoholic drink she was holding. Shizuri, acting on reflex, rushed to catch her, but in the process, she somehow ended up drinking the alcohol herself. The result? Instant knockout. Shizuri, a hopelessly weak drinker, passed out on the spot. When she finally woke up, only Tsukasa was by her side. Still a little hazy from the alcohol, Shizuri immediately launched into a drunken rant, lamenting how hard she had tried but still failed at everything. No matter what, she just wasn't cut out for this kind of work. Tsukasa gently reassured her, acknowledging all the effort she had put in. Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses, he said, smiling. If she was struggling so much, maybe they could find another way to pay off their debt to the landlord. Shizuri was once again deeply moved by her master's kindness. Her heart swelled with emotion, and in a rare moment of sincerity, she called him master and told him just how important he was to her, only to immediately start vomiting all over the place. Thus ended one of the most chaotic 3 days of her life. Despite the disasters, the four of them somehow managed to meet their work targets. The biggest surprise, however, was Kana. She had the highest sales, almost double that of Shizuri. Finally, after all this time, she had surpassed Shizuri in something. Naturally, Kana didn't waste a second before rubbing it in and mocking Shizuri. Even Saya, their cunning landlord, took the opportunity to praise Kana's talent. The moment those words left her mouth, Kana lit up like a firework, practically glowing with pride. But Shizuri, having known her former teacher for a long time, could tell that Saya was probably scheming something again. Their work at the cafe had officially come to an end. As a final gift, Saya announced that they could take their maid uniforms home. Hina, of course, eagerly took hers. After all, her master had clearly enjoyed seeing her in it. Before leaving, Hina casually mentioned to Shizuri that Tsukasa seemed really happy while taking care of her the previous night. Apparently, after putting her to bed, he even looked a little shy. This threw Shizuri into a whirlwind of emotions. She had planned to toss her uniform straight into the trash, but after hearing that, she found herself hesitating. In the end, she ended up taking it home as well. Later, Tsukasa was lost in thought. Shizuri, having drunk way too much, didn't remember a single thing she had said that night. Did that mean her heartfelt words about how important he was to her were nothing more than drunken ramblings? The uncertainty gnawed at him. Shizuri, on the other hand, was in the middle of her own internal battle. She was sitting in her room, glancing at the maid outfit. Should she do it? Should she wear it? Would it be weird? But if it made Tsukasa happy? Finally, after much struggling, she mustered up the courage. She put on the maid outfit and waited anxiously for Tsukasa's return. As soon as the doorbell rang, she took a deep breath and rushed to open it, only to freeze in horror. Standing at the door was Ayaman. It turned out she had accidentally taken his clothes instead. The moment he laid eyes on her, Ayaman's excitement skyrocketed. His eyes sparkled with admiration to see Shizuri in his outfit, and he looked as though he had just witnessed the single most beautiful sight in existence. Before he could say anything inappropriate, Shizuri shut him down with a single punch, sending him flying out the door. Right after dealing with Ayam, Shizuri suddenly sensed danger. Tsukasa was in trouble. Relying on her ninja instincts, she immediately rushed out. Meanwhile, Tsukasa had just picked up a steel rod, preparing himself to fight off a goblin. Just as he was about to swing, Shizuri appeared out of nowhere and instantly took down the creature in one swift move. Tsukasa stared in shock, still holding the rod mid-swing. Shizuri is in a maid outfit. To Shizuri, protecting him was the least she could do. He had done so much for her already. Handling battles was just a small way to repay him. Tsukasa's gaze lingered on Shizuri's outfit. Before he could say anything, she stumbled through an explanation, insisting that she was forced to wear it. Not that she wanted to please him or anything. Definitely not. Tsukasa simply smiled and didn't push the topic any further. Back home, he prepared a lavish dinner for Shizuri. As they sat at the table, he considered asking her something that had been weighing on his mind. What did she think about him? But as he watched her devour the food, completely focused on her meal, he hesitated. Maybe it didn't matter. Cooking for her, playing games together, spending their days in peaceful routine, he was happy like this. Continuing this way seemed fine. Unfortunately, their peaceful moment was short-lived. Without warning, Saya burst into their apartment, radiating bad intentions. She declared that Shizuri had no desire to change her situation and should leave immediately. This apartment, she claimed, had no place for ninjas like her, especially with a master like Tsukasa, who had that particular lineage. Tsukasa blinked in confusion. What does she mean by that lineage? Shizuri, however, didn't waste time thinking. She instantly switched into combat mode, but she was no match for her former teacher. Saya easily overwhelmed her, knocking her down in mere seconds. Then with a cold voice, she demanded to know how long Shizuri planned to drag Tsukasa down with her incompetence. Shizuri's first instinct was to run, but before she could react, Saya struck again, knocking her to the floor. Just as Saya was about to continue her harsh lesson, Tsukasa suddenly stepped forward. He stood in front of Shizuri, shielding her from their teacher. Looking Saya straight in the eyes, he declared that no matter how skilled a ninja she was, she had no right to drive Shizuri away. Because for him, life with Shizuri was the most important thing. Saya stared at him for a moment, then finally backed down, at least for now. She respected his words, but before leaving, she gave Shizuri a final warning. She should think carefully before making any decisions. The next morning, Tsukasa found Shizuri standing alone by the window, deep in thought. Then, with quiet determination, she turned to him and said she had decided. She no longer wants to be an ET and is determined to find a job. She reassures Tsukasa that she will work hard and prove herself. With a new goal in mind, she applies for a job at a maid cafe. However, when she arrives for the interview, she is shocked to see Kana, another kunoichi, there as well. Kana is equally surprised to see Shizuri. The two have a tense conversation, each questioning why the other is there. The cafe manager welcomes them and informs them that their hiring was already planned. The owner, who rarely visits, has already approved both of them to work at the cafe. This decision takes into account Kana's village, which is in trouble due to a lack of important sealing charms needed to fight demons. Kana initially struggles with the idea of working at a cafe, but realizes that this job might help her village get the charms they desperately need. Shizuri, meanwhile, is nervous about her new job. She remembers her past and how she was always focused on fighting. Unlike regular people, she never needed to work a normal job. She feels out of place but tries her best to adjust. As she watches the other employees, she admires how happy and energetic they are. Despite her doubts, she tells herself that this job might be a good experience. After her first day of work, Shizuri returns home exhausted. She is not used to working like this, and Tsukasa notices that she looks tired. Still, she insists on helping with house chores. She wants to stop depending on him for everything. She prepares a meal, hoping that Tsukasa will enjoy it. Even though she is struggling, she does not want to show weakness. She believes she needs to become stronger. Later, Shizuri opens up about her past. She explains that ever since she left her ninja village, she has been moving from place to place. She would find a person to protect, stay with them for a while, and then leave once the area became safe from demons. This cycle continued for a long time, and she always viewed it as just work. However, her time with Tsukasa has been different. Even after 6 months, he still attracts demons, and instead of leaving, she has stayed with him. She realizes that the demons are getting stronger and more dangerous. She begins to suspect that Tsukasa has some kind of hidden power that is drawing them in. Shizuri worries that she will not be able to protect him alone. She recalls something her master told her about a special ability called Katsumiyaku Light. This ability is found in certain bloodlines and allows a person to control energy that flows through the earth. By using this energy, they can make ninjas stronger, heal their injuries, and increase their abilities in battle. Shizuri starts to believe that Tsukasa may have this rare ability. If that is true, it explains why the demons are getting stronger around him. She realizes she needs to become even stronger to protect him. At the same time, Shizuri is struggling with another challenge, quitting video games. Since deciding to change her life, she has stopped playing her favorite mobile game, but she is feeling the effects of withdrawal. She tries to distract herself, but the stress starts to build. Her friend Hina notices that she looks unwell and worries about her. Hina suggests that completely quitting games might not be necessary. She advises Shizuri to find balance instead of forcing herself to give everything up at once. Meanwhile, danger is growing in the background. Two mysterious demon sisters, Kira and Kirina, are on a mission. They are hunting Tsukasa, believing that he holds the key to reviving their father. As they move forward with their plan, they eliminate kunoichi who stand in their way. Their strength is overwhelming, and it becomes clear that they are a serious threat. Ayama receives an urgent message. As soon as she sees it, she rushes to meet Shizuri, even though she does not know what the message is about. She is nervous, thinking she may have done something wrong. However, when she finally meets Shizuri, she is shocked by her appearance. Shizuri, who is usually full of energy, looks exhausted and lifeless. She explains that quitting games has left her feeling empty and restless. Ayame is surprised but relieved that Shizuri still trusts her enough to talk about her struggles. Back at home, Tsukasa is busy with his own work and has been coming home late. Shizuri prepares dinner but realizes that she and Tsukasa have barely seen each other recently. She feels lonely, but she does not say anything. As she sits alone, she starts to wonder if their daily life together is starting to change. While Shizuri is focusing on becoming stronger, the threat from the demon sisters is getting closer. It is only a matter of time before they make their move. Meanwhile, Tsukasa reflects on how much Shizuri has changed. She has given up her favorite video games, taken on household responsibilities, and is working hard to support their life together. She is doing all of this so that she does not become a burden to him. Seeing this, Tsukasa wonders if there is anything he can do to help her in return. Before he can think further, he is suddenly attacked by mysterious enemies. Two figures appear in front of him and try to capture him. They seem confident, believing that Tsukasa will not be able to resist. They do not want to harm him but plan to take him away. However, before before they succeed, Shizori arrives just in time. She immediately senses that these attackers are different from the demons she has faced before. They are stronger and more dangerous. One of the attackers, Kara, is eager to fight. She enjoys facing strong opponents and sees Shizori as a worthy challenge. The other Kara is more cautious, observing the situation carefully. Kira taunts Shizori for leaving her ninja village and choosing to live as a MET. She mocks her for trying to have a peaceful life when she is supposed to be a warrior. However, Shizori does not let the words affect her. Instead, she focuses on the fight. The battle begins and it is intense. Shizori fights with all of her strength, determined to protect Tsukasa. At first, she holds her own, but Kira quickly adapts to her attacks. Kira watches from the side, evaluating the fight. As the battle continues, Kira reveals that they are not just attacking randomly, they are searching for something. More specifically, they are after Tsukasa. Hearing this, Shizori is shocked. She realizes that these enemies are not like the usual demons she fights. They have a specific goal, and it involves Tsukasa. She wonders what they mean and why Tsukasa is so important. Could it be related to the hidden power she had suspected he had? She regrets not acting sooner. If she had known things would turn out like this, she would have sent Tsukasa away to a safer place. However, it is too late for regrets. She decides that no matter what happens, she will protect him. Kira grows more excited as the fight continues. She believes that defeating Shizori will prove her own strength. But just when things seem hopeless for Shizori, something unexpected happens. Tsukasa awakens a hidden ability called Agent's Power. This ability is rare and allows him to support ninjas by enhancing their abilities. Shizori is stunned. She had suspected that Tsukasa had a special power, but she never expected it to awaken so suddenly. Despite this new power, the situation remains dangerous. Shizori is injured and Kira is still eager to fight. Just as it seems like Shizori might not be able to continue, another figure arrives. This person is from one of the great ninja villages and is far stronger than anyone else present. Kara and Kira immediately sense that they might be in trouble. As the battle escalates, Shizori's allies start appearing. Haina, who has always depended on Shizori, now wants to fight by her side. She believes it is time for her to return the favor and protect the person who has always protected her. Ayame also arrives, ready to assist. She has always been deeply devoted to Shizori, and this is her chance to prove it. Together, they launch a counterattack. But even with their combined efforts, the enemy is still powerful. Kira finally joins the fight, revealing that she had been holding back. With her added strength, the battle becomes even more intense. The fight continues, and now Kira starts to get frustrated. She had expected to overpower Shizori easily, but things are not going as planned. Then, just as the battle reaches its peak, the leader of the great ninja village steps in. This person is far above anyone else in strength and immediately takes control of the situation. Kara and Kira realize that they cannot win this fight. Shizori makes a difficult decision. She turns to Tsukasa and tells him that after this battle is over, she will leave their home. She believes that staying with him will only bring him more danger. Even though she does not want to go, she feels that it is the best choice for both of them. However, Tsukasa refuses to accept this. He remembers the promise he made to himself to protect her and the life they built together. He does not want their peaceful days to end. Seeing how much Shizori has sacrificed, he asks her to continue their life as it was before, where she can be herself without worry. Shizori is deeply moved by his words. She realizes that she has not been fighting alone. She understands that Tsukasa is willing to support her in every way. At that moment, she makes a decision. She will not run away anymore. She will stay by his side and protect their life together. As the battle against Kira and Kira reaches its peak, Shizori uses all of her energy to fight. Kira, although strong, admits that Shizori has become a worthy opponent. However, Kira seems to grow tired of the fight and prepares to leave. Before disappearing, she warns them that their troubles are not over yet. Just when it seems like things are finally settling down, another powerful enemy appears. This time, it is someone who has been waiting for the perfect moment to attack. Unlike Kira and Kira, this person is far more dangerous. They are excited to fight at full power and see Shizori as the perfect opponent. However, before they can strike, Shizori suddenly calls for a timeout. Everyone is confused until she reveals the reason. Her favorite mobile game is about to have a special event, and she needs to roll for a rare character before it ends. Haina, who understands Shizori's obsession, panics and supports her, explaining that she has saved up many in-game resources for this moment. Their opponent, confused by their behavior, grows frustrated. They are ready to continue the fight, but Shizori and Hina are completely focused on their game. As the battle pauses for a few minutes, an intense struggle unfolds, not in combat, but in trying to pull the rare character from the game's gacha system. Despite the ridiculousness of the situation, Shizori becomes incredibly determined. She refuses to let her efforts go to waste and gives everything she has into securing the rare character. At the same time, the delay in fighting allows her to regain some energy. Eventually, Shizori succeeds in her game, pulling the character she wanted. She immediately returns to battle, now fully energized and more motivated than ever. The enemy, now even angrier, finally launches an all-out attack. The fight is fierce, but Shizori, Tsukasa, and their allies work together. Tsukasa continues to support Shizori with his newly awakened Agent's Power. Even though he's not a fighter, his ability allows Shizori to push herself further. Kira, despite being an enemy, watches with admiration. She realizes that Shizori is not just a regular kunoichi. She is someone who fights not just for herself, but for the people she cares about. Kira, now satisfied, decides to leave. Before she goes, she makes a promise she will return for a rematch. However, she does not leave without teasing Shizori one last time. After the battle, Shizori collapses from exhaustion. Hina and the others quickly check on her and realize that she just needs rest. Although the fight is over, the effects of pushing herself too far have taken a toll. Tsukasa stays by her side, relieved that she is safe. Later, Ayam arrives and reveals something shocking. Shizori was able to awaken Tsukasa's power because of a hidden method. Normally, it would take years of training, but she used a special technique to open his energy gates forcefully. However, there's a cost. The person who uses this technique loses most of their own energy permanently. Ayam reveals that she was the one who made this sacrifice. Tsukasa is shocked. He realizes that Ayam gave up her own power to help them. However, she insists that she has no regrets. She only wants Shizori to be safe. Tsukasa feels a deep gratitude toward her, but also guilt for what she has lost. Meanwhile, Shizori starts to remember her past. She recalls the first time she met Tsukasa back when she was young and had just left her ninja village. She had been alone, wandering without a purpose. When she met him at a gaming tournament, she was amazed by his skills and was drawn to his energy. She had decided in that moment to make him her Ejin, someone she would protect for life. Now, after everything they have been through, she understands why she made that choice. Tsukasa is not just someone she protects, he is the person who makes her happy. Tsukasa and Shizori return to their daily life. Even though they have faced many battles, their biggest challenge remains figuring out how to live together peacefully. As they sit together, Tsukasa casually suggests that they play a game. Shizori, now back to her usual self, eagerly agrees. Shizori and her friends visit a hot spring after receiving discount tickets from her master as a reward for their hard work. At first, she does not feel excited about the trip, but once they arrive, she starts to enjoy the relaxing atmosphere. The others suggest that she try a massage, but Shizori is not interested and keeps her distance. Hainan, however, seems eager to enjoy the experience, but Shizori makes sure to keep her at a safe distance. As they settle in, Ayam and Kana begin discussing body types, comparing themselves to each other. Shizori starts feeling self-conscious about her own figure, wondering why Ayam has such a well-proportioned body. The conversation becomes playful as the girls tease each other about their appearances. Meanwhile, a sudden disturbance occurs. A demon appears near the hot spring, drawn by the presence of strong ninja blood. Kana quickly prepares to fight, activating a sealing technique to trap the enemy in place. She confidently declares that the demon will not be able to escape. However, an unexpected problem arises. During the fight, Shizori and Hina realize they left an important item, their battle suits, back in the changing area. This means they cannot transform into their proper ninja gear. The demon, realizing their disadvantage, attacks. The situation becomes even worse when the demon uses a special ability that dissolves the fabric of their swimsuits, leaving them vulnerable and unable to fight properly. Shizori panics and tries to avoid the demon's attacks. Hana attempts to use her own ninja techniques to help. Without their suits, they struggle to defend themselves. Just when things seem hopeless, Ayam steps in to protect them. She boldly faces the demon, showing no hesitation, and quickly gains the upper hand. Despite the embarrassing situation, Ayam remains composed and focused. She does not see the problem in fighting while in a swimsuit, since she views her body as simply a tool for combat. Her confidence impresses the others, and she quickly turns the tide of the battle. However, the demon has a special ability. It absorbs the energy of those it touches, using it to heal itself. As the fight continues, Ayam starts to feel drained. The demon seems to grow stronger, feeding on the life energy it steals from them. At this moment, something unexpected happens. The energy that the demon absorbs from Shizori and Hina combines inside its body, causing an unusual reaction. Instead of simply feeding on their power, the demon starts acting strangely. It seems overwhelmed by the sudden fusion of different energies, giving Shizori and the others an opportunity to counterattack. Tsukasa, who has been watching from a distance, realizes that Shizori is in trouble. Despite not being a fighter, he rushes in to help her. He calls out to her, encouraging her to stand up and fight. Hearing his voice, Shizori finds renewed strength. She gathers her remaining energy and delivers a powerful final blow, defeating the demon once and for all. After the battle, Shizori thanks Tsukasa for his support. She admits that she still relies on him and that his encouragement gives her strength. He reassures her that they will always face things together. With the danger now gone, the group finally gets to relax and enjoy the hot spring. Meanwhile, in another location, Kana's younger sister, Yuzu, is searching for her. She has not seen Kana for a long time and worries about what she has been doing. Yuzu decides to investigate and find out the truth for herself. Eventually, Yuzu tracks down Kana at her current job, the maid cafe. She is shocked to discover that her proud, serious older sister is now working as a maid. Seeing Kana in a cute maid outfit, smiling and interacting with customers, is too much for Yuzu to handle. She struggles to believe that this is the same sister she once looked up to. Kana, seeing Yuzu's reaction, becomes flustered and tries to explain. However, Yuzu does not listen. She is deeply upset and believes that Kana has betrayed their ninja traditions. Yuzu declares that she will not accept this version of Kana. She refuses to believe that her sister has changed so much. Meanwhile, Shizori and Ayam watch from the side. Ayam does not seem surprised, but Shizori understands Yuzu's feelings. She reminds Kana that Yuzu traveled all the way from their ninja village just to see her. However, Kana refuses to acknowledge the situation and acts as if nothing is wrong. She tells Yuzu that since she came here alone, she can return home alone as well. Yuzu feels frustrated. She does not understand why Kana is acting so indifferent. Seeing this, Shizori points out that Yuzu's feelings are important. She explains that Yuzu is not just upset, because of Kana's new job, but because she feels abandoned. This only makes Kana more defensive, and she insists that Yuzu should not interfere with her life. Unable to handle the tension, Yuzu runs away. Kana, while acting unconcerned, is clearly troubled. Her usual confident attitude seems forced, and she cannot focus on work. The other maids notice her distraction and worry about her. They tell her that she should go after Yuzu if she is really worried. However, Kana refuses to admit her feelings and continues to act stubborn. Elsewhere, Yuzu gets into trouble. She is approached by a group of shady men who try to take advantage of her. At first, they do not realize that she is a ninja, but when she tries to resist, they become aggressive. Just as the situation becomes dangerous, Yuzu fights back. She proves that she is not weak, but the men surround her, making escape difficult. Before things escalate further, Kana arrives. She immediately jumps in to defend her sister. She scolds Yuzu for being careless and reminds her that even strong ninjas can be caught off guard. Yuzu, however, is not happy to see Kana. She asks if Kana really cares or if she is just helping out of obligation. Kana hesitates, unsure of how to respond. Seeing her hesitation, Yuzu finally expresses what has been bothering her. She is afraid that Kana has changed so much that she no longer cares about their family or their village. She wonders if Kana values her new life in the city more than their bond as sisters. Hearing this, Kana finally drops her defensive attitude. She tells Yuzu that she never forgot about her or their home. However, she has responsibilities now, and she cannot return to the village so easily. She explains that she is trying to learn a special sealing technique to help their village, which is why she has stayed in this city. Yuzu realizes that Kana is still the same person she always admired. Even though her lifestyle is different now, her heart has not changed. With this understanding, the sisters reconcile. Later, at the maid cafe, Yuzu unexpectedly participates in one of the performances. She is not happy about it, but ends up helping Kana make up for the trouble she caused earlier. The customers enjoy the surprise, and despite herself, Yuzu performs well. However, after the event, Yuzu insists that she still does not approve of Kana's job. She refuses to believe that her strong and serious older sister is working as a maid. Kana simply laughs, telling her that she does not need approval to live her own life. Meanwhile, Shizori and Tsukasa continue their usual routine at home. However, Shizori starts to suspect that Tsukasa might be hiding something from her. When she asks him directly, he becomes flustered. She begins to worry that he might be keeping secrets. To make things more complicated, Asakura Hima suddenly visits Shizori. She seems nervous and tells Shizori that she needs to discuss something important about Tsukasa. However, before she can explain, Shizori misinterprets the situation. She assumes that Hima might have romantic feelings for Tsukasa. This causes Shizori to panic and her thoughts spiral out of control. Asakura tries to explain herself properly, but Shizori's overactive imagination gets the better of her. She begins to see Hima as a rival and starts overanalyzing everything. She even considers the possibility that Tsukasa might prefer younger girls. Eventually, Asakura Hima manages to clarify the real reason for her visit. She saw Tsukasa coming out of another woman's apartment and thought something suspicious was going on. She was worried that he might be in trouble or involved in something strange. Shizori, who had been preparing for a love-rival confrontation, suddenly realizes that this is a completely different issue. She feels embarrassed for overreacting and decides to investigate the situation properly. Shizori confronts Tsukasa about the misunderstanding. He assures her that there is nothing suspicious going on, but she is still skeptical. She decides to keep a closer watch on him just in case. That's it for this one. If you vibed with the chaos, hit that like, smash subscribe, and drop a comment with your favorite moment. Don't just lurk in the shadows like our Konoichi, join the squad. Catch you in the next grind.